Okay, I have 7 o'clock on my computer, and we'll call the meeting to order, and we will stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Just a reminder for anybody who wants to speak during public comment to come up and put their name on the legal pad on the podium. All right, first item on our agenda is approval of January minutes and February claim docket. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those.
I make a motion we accept the January minutes in the claim docket.
Okay, got a first motion?
I'll second that motion.
Got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay, motion carried. Alright, first item on old business, alley vacate for 4829 Pennsylvania. We had a vote and we got signatures from property owners, and Graham put together an ordinance for us.
Thanks, Pete, for doing all the legwork on that.
Alright, so we got all of our information on this. So anybody have any questions, comments on the ordinance? And need to review it?
No.
Okay. I need a motion
I can go get
to
it.
accept this motion, vacating the ordinance. Or accepting this ordinance for vacating the ordinance, or vacating the
I won't listen to it anyway, so it doesn't.
alley over at 4829 Pennsylvania.
Don't worry about it.
I make a motion that we vote on the alley vacations for 4829 Pennsylvania.
Okay, got a first motion,
I'll second.
second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Alright, last month we had quite a bit of discussion on the contract, or the township trustee and his attorney were here to talk about us giving them some money to help with fire and EMS services. We have still haven't found or had a chance to get information through our budget as far as I'm told.
No, we
have-
just finished the year-end report
Okay,
today, so we'll have it by March
alright,
or April.
so we'll continue combing through our budget to find information, and we'll work on a formal contract or MOU between the town and the township for that amount of money and what kinds of services are expected for the town from that. Any discussion or questions from town council members?
Have we had any communication from the township trustee
I have not.
since his visit? No? Okay.
I know, Graham, you weren't able to be here last month, but I didn't know if you had any questions for us on.
Saw the emails, it looks like we're trying to find money, and it sounds like that's still an open question. And then it looks like you're considering two agreements, one for the services and then one for the building. That would be kind of the scope of what would be needed.
Yeah, I think, just my thoughts is that over the last several years, we've had the agreement for the money with the fire department was a yearly or done every year kind of a thing, and my thoughts is to continue that. Now the building, however, I think that could be, you know, a more of a long-term kind of an agreement. Wouldn't have to be redone every year, but, so I didn't know if that was everybody else's thoughts. That was kind of
I
what I
agree.
was thinking
Yeah.
on that. Okay, we will revisit that when we've combed through our budget and found some money to give them. Next item on the agenda, we had some discussion over the last couple of months about the road to the wastewater treatment plant and what kinds of options are available to us. And so Pete, you got some further information for us?
Right. Mr. Penner said that he is willing to give us the road with a reasonable amount of easement. He goes, if you want to go more, you know, he wants compensated, but that'd be up to you guys.
But the road, the width it is now,
Yeah,
fine.
but we need to find out
Yeah.
what the proper easements are with it, because there's telephone poles, you know,
Yeah.
and that, so there's probably a utility easement of some sort there.
Yeah, and even with a donation, we still would have to go through the steps of making sure we have, you know, the legal, you know, description. Now, I think the email that Graham sent had lots of legal descriptions in the appendices, A, B, and C. And I don't know how to make sense of those. It's all Greek to me when I read that, but there's legal descriptions on where the easement starts, where it finishes, the length of it, the width of it, all that kind of stuff. So we would just have to make sure, you know, what is the property being transferred from Mr. Penner to the town, and then, like you said, do we need any more width to that road? My thought is, and I don't know, George, you and Mindy are up and down that road more often than I am, but it's a single vehicle width road.
Yeah.
So if you were trying to get in and septic was trying to get out,
You have to watch for each other is what we do.
yeah, so,
Nobody's coming, I go, and vice versa.
Yeah.
right.
We hope that somebody stops.
So I didn't know if that would be, you know, would we want, you know, to think about making that wider in order to accommodate
Right.
vehicles rather than having somebody have to drive off into the ditch or wait
Yeah.
for other vehicles or something.
The sewer line itself, we have a separate easement going out to it for the line, right?
Yeah, well, and the sewer line doesn't actually get near the road.
No.
It's off.
Right.
It's.
I'm just saying we don't have to take that into account because it's got its own
Yes.
path through the
It
field.
does.
Right.
So, okay.
George, how much traffic goes up down that road? Just you, basically, and
And them, and then delivery guys that we
Yeah.
have come, and then the trash people. So I mean, it's not like 39, there's a fair
Right.
amount of
Right.
traffic on that road. You know, over a week's time.
Well, and I don't know how much, I mean, Mr. Penner has shared some ideas of some things he wants to do in the future back there with his property. One idea he brought up, he wanted to build his own self-storage kind of a
Right.
lot back there. So if he builds a business,
You can't have a single road like that.
right, so it's just something to think about in the future. I mean, that might be something to take into consideration. His permit for building his own wastewater treatment plant has been approved by them also, so is he gonna do that part as well? And, I mean, so there's just some things to consider with a single lane road versus, you know, getting that a little bit wider. It doesn't have to be, you know, 25 feet wide or anything, but something wider than.
that would be a talking point though on his compensation. It
Yes.
benefits him too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, and when we sold him that little section of property that we sold to him, you know, it was the same kind of negotiation
Yeah.
over price and stuff. You get
Right.
appraisals and you go through this.
Well, he's on a cruise right now, and he said, don't call him, because he's not paying those high-priced phone bills.
Hit him up when he comes back.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think-
Any other questions on the road to the wastewater treatment plant from board members or ideas on what you wanna see happen there?
Well, I'd like to see, I think we ought to take him up on it. You know, the road be the town's.
Right.
because somewhere down the line, maybe something happens and then we won't get access to it.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked about the benefit of adding that to our motor vehicle highway
Right.
inventory. Wouldn't be a ton of extra income for the town, but it would be a little bit. Of course, then you have an asset to maintain,
Right.
so, but,
Well, it's been there quite a while, it's still in good shape.
Yep.
yeah, so,
So adding it to the inventory, is there any benefit to being 2-lane rather than 1-lane?
no.
Okay.
Which was a surprising thing with that community crossing matching grant class that Pete and I went to last fall. The asset mileage, like, you know, Clayton has 5.7 miles of road that the DOT recognizes as Clayton's. They don't care if it's 1 lane, 2 lanes, 4 lanes,
Yeah.
8 lanes.
Mhm.
It's a mile is a mile.
Yeah.
Which I think, I mean, that's just silly to me, considering, I mean, it would cost more, you know, for Plainfield to maintain, you know, their 4-lane
Right.
business district road than it does for us to maintain, you know, Pennsylvania Street.
Yeah.
So, but to the DOT, it doesn't matter, they just say
Yeah.
a mile is a mile,
No,
doesn't matter how wide it is.
that's a safe.
Is there gravel on the sides of the road? You know,
Somewhat, what is it, about a
Along the
foot on
edge?
each side? But there's plenty, it's up high, it's got good drainage both directions. I think that's why it's held up so well.
I was just wondering about maybe widening the gravel a little bit, if we can't afford to put asphalt down. Just kinda give a little bit of leeway. If you meet somebody, you can always go into the gravel and go around, so.
A better shoulder, yeah, that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, any other thoughts, questions on that road? We'll wait till Mr. Penner gets back from his cruise and
Yeah.
talk further about that kind of thing. Obviously, it's not something we have to solve, this spring, but just something to think about as we progress through, that. So, next on, our agenda, hold item here is IDEM response letter. So with the help of George and Bannon Engineering, we put together a response to their violation letter. I sent that, off to them Monday, haven't heard anything yet, but
Yeah.
they, hopefully will be satisfied with our response. If not, they'll let me know, they've done that in the past.
Will you shoot me a copy of that and I'll put it for the records next time he comes in?
Yeah, I thought I copied, I didn't, okay.
I'll just on the
I'll-
draft back and forth, but
I will send it to you, the
yeah, the one you.
final one that I sent to them. I'll make sure to copy you on, or get it to you, but,
Yeah, they've not come back to me, so.
okay. Hopefully that we can get some of this cleaned up and which, the Regan Street project is also kind of, that's the trunk line between D1 and C1.
Yeah.
So any more progress on that? Pete, you got some information from
Yeah.
property owners?
Well, we got signed documents from Cynthia Woods and JSJ Investments. They've signed. Mr. Skirvin has some requests, so I made sure I wrote them down so I could remember them all. He's got 2 river ash trees. He wants those replaced if they have to be dug up or whatever, or transplanted, if that's possible. They're pretty good size. And he wants a temporary fence from the northeast corner of his garage, like a snow fence, to the east property line to keep his dogs out of the construction while they're digging through his property. And we've got some of that snow fence ourselves in the garage. I don't think we got enough to
Yeah.
go that far. In the north to south chain link fence, which is 47 feet long, he would like to have that replaced with a 6-foot privacy fence at completion of the job.
How big is it?
6 foot. Right now it's 4 feet.
Yeah.
How long is it? That's what she
I said,
wants
how?
47 feet.
to know. Right.
47 feet.
Yeah.
Where's that at, B?
It's the north-south chain link fence, just,
He would like us to
just
pay off
west
his
of
house.
that red barn he's got on his property, that little short. Okay, now here comes the three options, and he wants one
A,
of
B, or
the,
C.
The
Yeah,
six,
A, B,
the
or C.
6-foot fence would be 47 feet as well.
yes, 6 foot high, 47
Yeah.
feet.
Okay.
And then one of the three requests, he either wants $2,000,
2,000.
2 years with no sewer bill, or a 6-foot privacy fence, which is 120 feet long, east to west, starting at the original chain link I was talking about, where he wants the 47 foot in,
Yeah.
to the west. And then he wants pictures taken of his garage floor in case there's any cracking or anything from the digging. That covers it.
Can I ask a question real quick?
You may.
He wants all of this up here at the top, and then he wants either A, B, or C.
Yes. Yeah.
And the 6-foot privacy fence C is how long, 120 feet?
Yes.
Okay, I think I've got it all.
And I didn't step it off, I measured it to make sure.
Yeah.
With your little wheel.
No, I used a regular
Oh,
tape.
okay. All right, any questions for Pete?
Lots,
But we have
lots of questions.
lots of questions. Okay, go ahead.
So this fence that he wants replaced, I'm assuming that it is where we're digging.
You're assuming what now?
It's where we're digging, where they wanna dig. This
Yeah, they'll have
fence
to
is
take,
right there where that-
they'll have to take that 47-foot fence down, because they have to move that red mini barn, and it's a pretty good sized mini barn. It's almost could be a, you know, a stationary.
Okay.
And then when they
But
take
the
that,
other fence,
the other, well, he just
he
just wants that over and above.
okay. And
Basically,
then he
to-
also wants $2,000.
no. He either wants $2,000, or if they don't go for that, he wants no sewer bill for 2 years. If they don't go for that, then he wants the 120-foot privacy fence. One of the three.
Okay.
We can't do it like 70 times 20.
So now is this fair that
That's
we
the
would
sewer
give
bill for
him
2 years.
the,
I guess
well,
I
I'm
can
just gonna
do
say
that.
the 2,000, that we would give him the $2,000 and not
Say
give it to
48
Cynthia?
years.
Yeah. I'd
Or
play.
somebody else?
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's,
Exactly.
Yeah, and as far as the sewer bill for 2 years, I don't think legally we couldn't do that.
No.
I don't
We've had
think
that
so.
discussion before.
Yeah,
No. And it come
That
out a little more than
option's out.
2,000.
yeah,
So we're in the dilemma.
yeah.
Are we installing the 6-foot by 47-foot long? Is that installed?
Yeah.
Not just the fencing, he wants it
No.
installed?
Yeah.
and all of this is, we have an easement, don't we, to be able
We-
to be on his land?
Well, the whole
go to
point
his
though is
land.
we have to have a temporary because they have to move that sewer line to the north of the original one. That's the only reason we have to have this temporary,
And why do they have to move it to the north of where it is?
so we wouldn't have to dig up or
That
tear down the
that
garage.
where Cynthia lives on,
Yeah.
the north section of that garage, it runs underneath that garage. That's all concrete in there.
Not the one that you said we can tear down now?
No.
No,
Right.
no.
So if we go north, now the little shed, which is almost fallen down, is in the way.
That's no problem there. taking
No.
that.
And that's another property owner's.
Yeah,
That's
it's Cynthia's,
Cynthia.
yeah.
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 But she's not asking for any money.
No.
Just-
Well, and at one point, I did ask one of the banding engineer folks that were here, if we weren't dealing with Cynthia Wood's garage, would they be able to put it in the same place? And he acted like he didn't want to have to do that. He said, you know, if this pipe failed in that area, it failed for a reason, and you know, we'd get in there and find something that would take a whole lot extra effort to fix.
Right.
What he kinda indicated to me, because that was my first thought, we already have this easement. Let's just dig up the broken pipe, the failed one, and put a brand new one right there, and, but he didn't think that that would be a good solution because of whatever caused this pipe to fail in that area. He thought it would just,
Do it again.
yeah, repeat the issue once.
And I'm sure that pipe that there's now is the old concrete pipe or whatever, or clay
Clay
pipe.
tile,
Yeah.
yeah.
Over the years, I'm sure.
It also doesn't, I mean, some of this
The installation.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This pipe makes a directional change
Oh.
or a vertical change
Right.
without a manhole,
6 foot, 47.
and,
Mhm.
which,
So 6 foot.
you know, isn't good construction practice, so I don't know
So that would be the
what
actual cost of it.
they did when they were building this particular section of sewer pipe over there, but there's several problems with it.
2020.
And then the town let
But it's
Cynthia
53
build her
years old.
garage on top of this easement where the sewer pipe was, and, you know, which obviously they couldn't foresee that, hey, this was gonna have to be replaced, but that's kind of the whole purpose of
An easement.
making sure you have an easement, is don't let people build on top of it.
Pete, who picks out the style of privacy fence? And the cost of it?
Has he, or?
No, who does that?
Oh,
Which I don't know that, I mean, I don't know how that would work. Typically, you replace in kind. So if we take out a
Chain link fence.
4-foot tall chain link fence,
You put back a
that's
4-foot.
what we put back, is a
Mhm.
4-foot tall chain link fence.
Mhm.
yeah,
So I don't know how you would justify saying, well, you're gonna change my fence now to something much more expensive. I mean, a 6-foot privacy fence
right.
is
Mhm.
probably about the most expensive fence you can put up
Well,
right
and
now.
$2,000 is cheaper than 120 foot of privacy fence.
Sure. But, I mean, I understand, I mean, you know, property owners, we're digging up, you know, a huge section of his property, we're, you know, interfering with, you know, his dog's normal, you know,
Yeah,
area to run around in, we're, you know,
yeah,
causing issues. It's certainly something to keep in mind on, especially,
Well, on the trees, 2 trees you're talking about, now, as far as, you know, replacing them, I remember when the state come through to do New 39 and they took out some trees or stuff. If a tree was, there's one price they pay for a tree, not
not the size.
not the size. I don't know if that's something that it's a legal thing that trying to replace that tree, one that's grown like that somewhere, it's probably, I imagine, a hard thing to do. Them trees have been there for many years.
Well, he did say he didn't necessarily have transplant, you know, substantial size, just
No.
like it.
I did ask you, you know, there's those companies that have the big spade trucks that will transplant a large tree. I didn't know if these were
These trees
too
are,
big for that.
they're probably that big around.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, and if you transplant a tree like that, it's not gonna have a guarantee that it's gonna live. And then do we have to replace it again after we've paid to have it dug up and?
Plus, it'd probably have to be roped off till the roots took hold again.
all right, well, that gives us lots of things to think about.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wanna come up with some decisions quickly, cause this has been going on for
Yeah.
many years and we need to move forward. We'll see, I don't know what other avenues we can look at.
Yeah.
I think it might be easier if you just agree on a dollar figure rather fences in and, you know, you're doing X, Y, and Z to his property, he's entitled to a certain amount of money. And I mean, I suppose we could, I mean, there's gonna be a value on the temporary access easement. I mean, you could get that appraised if you wanted. And you could figure out the value of the trees, really. But I think that might be easier than having to deal with all these moving parts.
Okay, so your recommendation is, get an appraisal on what the temporary easement's gonna look like, size, and then,
I'd see what
Find
it would
somebody to
cost to
value
get
that.
that done, cause
Sure.
it might be more than $2,000. And then maybe start the conversation more in terms of a dollar figure rather than, a list of different
And let
items.
him buy everything.
And then he can use the money to replace he can get whatever fence he wants.
okay. Alright, so, let's move forward in that direction on,
Okay,
come up with a,
so you want me to approach him and just say, hey, how much do you
Sure.
want? Okay. I can do that.
and, you know, we can figure out, how do we go about verifying the value of what we're dealing with, the trees, the dollar figure for the easement.
Take a couple candy bars with me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I found 2 saplings that were river ash and they were, one at $12 or something like that.
Is that right?
The 2 little bitty ones,
Yeah.
it wasn't very much, but he doesn't want little, he wants already half matured.
alright, any other thoughts or questions on C1, D1 trunk line
Nice
issues?
to make that go away someday. We'll just have a big party over
At the sewer plant.
it. Sewer plant. Everybody's invited.
To the sewer plant.
To the sewer plant.
You gonna notify us which direction the wind's blowing?
It's always wrong, it's always the wrong direction.
Okay, anything else? Let's move on to new business. So, cameras at the park.
And I do apologize, I had, the deal I was talking with Dave by buying them ourselves. I had it all figured out cost-wise to the exact penny, but I've got it in my head where I'm close enough to give you an idea. It's still on my computer, because 2 people come in the office and I just spaced it and didn't print it off.
Okay,
But, I mean, I've got the rest of it here from Brand Tech. $12,950. And then the one from last month was $15,235.02.
Brandtech, also have a monthly fee for the app access.
The first one,
Mhm.
well, I'm assuming it's just like what we had with Vertica. You pay a flat fee for X amount of years.
Okay, okay.
And then good old Amazon. I looked up prices on cameras ourselves, and the high-tech Dave over here.
and what'd you come up with on that price?
Okay, with the, and Dave thought that we didn't need the switch, is that right? Did you read it?
I did, but if, I would have to look at what you pulled up, and what
Okay.
they suggested,
If we bought,
yeah. Switches aren't that much.
the PoE switch was $107, and then the NVR was $195. 4 cameras, dual lens, they're $189.99 a piece, and then 2 cameras that's got 16 times optic zoom, was $279.99. With 6 cameras and the NVR and the switch, it come up to a little over $1,600. That's excluding the cables, but you buy 60 foot of cable for like $9.99, and Dave thought there was Cat 5 cable in the basement.
We're gonna still have the Verkada access and the one camera that's down there and the camera at the wastewater. All that data system will still stay because we still have four more years.
Just
Yeah,
paid.
so we have 4 more years on that. So this other system though would give us the ability, and Thomas the ability to access it, and check other areas of the park whenever we needed to, or whenever it can be set to go off if there's movement or something, at a certain time of the night, or if you discover you need to check something, you can go back and review it and find out if something happened. It just won't be readily as easily accessible as the Verkada system that we currently have. It won't be piped up to some cloud. It'll be,
Stored.
I don't wanna give any more details out over the
Yeah.
internet.
Well, I thought we were first looking into this just because we no longer had access to any of the information that the cameras at the park were gathering.
Right.
Right.
Well, we have the one camera that we do have, we're getting that feed, just like the wastewater treatment plant and the ones here around the. And then we have the other cameras where we're not currently recovering anything from that because we don't know anything about the systems down there. And the systems down there now is probably 5-6 years old. So we don't know, I don't know anything about it. So what he's proposing is we're basically getting a system and replacing the one that's there with better cameras that we then would have fresh out of the box access to start fresh with, and then record the information so we can pass it on to Thomas or someone after Thomas or somebody after Pete or somebody after us, that they'll have access to it, and we'll just keep it going that way because the current system we don't have that information.
See, these cameras are motorized, and one of the Ford has got the dual lenses of 355 degrees, and the other one is 16 times does 360. They tilt 90. You can program it where to pick up a person, a pet, or a vehicle. And if it's nighttime, it picks it up. It'll send it to his email address and alert him. I mean, it's pretty savvy.
And then does he, if he wants to move the camera, he moves it?
Yeah,
Or does the
yeah, you
camera
can move it
follow?
from your phone.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
automatically follow whatever it has?
Oh, yeah,
It can,
it will,
yeah.
once it's started, it'll track.
Okay.
It'll track.
And the system we do have down there doesn't do that right now. It doesn't have those kinds of cameras. They're all static.
And the reason I thought the 16 times, like for a playground, where you could, keep a close watch, you can really get a facial recognition for liability or whatever, So, pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And Thomas has already volunteered to help us.
Because as Thomas has said, he is so tech savvy.
Yeah.
That's right.
We want the guy with the gun.
He's tall though, he's tall, he can reach up.
I was thinking after you get it set up, he'll run across the field.
Yeah, to see if it works.
See what's up with it.
The other thing the Pete solution does is if we decide we have a camera that it's not working effectively in that area, we need to move it, then we just move it ourselves. We don't have to pay someone to move it. But we have to pay the other people to come in and move it, so there's
Yeah.
maintenance fees and things.
And the chances of having to move being is how they'll turn 360 is
Right,
less likely.
right.
And
And
we just
can
have to
add-
choose.
We can add to it at will.
Yeah, you can set it to where it's stationary or set it where it'll track, whatever you want to do with it.
So what's the amount of money that we have, that you have the option of spending? I mean, we have like a cap that we just say, if you wanna buy something, you go buy it. Is-
Well, I haven't
are we
exercised,
not-
I'd rather not do that myself.
Yeah.
I want your guys' approval.
Yeah.
I mean, little stuff, you know, I go get at Lowe's or whatever, but I don't spend any big amounts without approval.
Well, it sounds like a bargain price to me, the ones, your suggestion compared to Branham's.
You know, there's that one, and then there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tech.
Brand Tech and Aptech.
And remember, there's a coupon too.
Yeah, it's wrote on there. That's for, I got the website, so I could go back to the exact
Yeah.
website,
Yeah.
and that'd knock off another $200-300.
Yeah.
It's good old Amazon.
Yeah.
I haven't consulted, I mean, Pete and I have talked about this here and there, but I haven't really given him any input on any of this. He's done a really fine job of finding out this stuff and looking through it, and then he kind of bounces some ideas off me, but I think that this is the best way to save the town some money and get the system operational as it needs to be. And then it also provides us with, down the road, longevity and the ability to add to it if we need to. Under our own scope and control.
All right, any other questions or discussion on camera systems for the park? Anybody wanna make a motion on any of it, or table this?
Judy, do we have like $2,000 that we could,
There's 5,000 in miscellaneous improvements at the park. As long as you don't go crazy the rest of the year.
do you think we could do it for 2,000? I mean, you said.
Oh, yeah,
around
it-
16 or
Yeah.
so.
If the
2,000.
coupons are good, we can do it for a little over 1,300. It was 1,600 without the coupons, and you know, by buying 4 cameras, there was $50 a piece off on that, so that's 200 right there. And then if Dave finds out we don't need that PoE switch, that'll save another $109.
If we do. have
And these
one.
cameras
I'll
are
donate.
all weather cameras, like they're gonna be
Yes.
outside and that's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
okay.
they're waterproof and all that.
Alright,
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion that we purchase them cameras.
alright, I got a first motion,
I'll second that.
alright, got a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Pete, you got yourself a camera system?
Now, if the weather holds out like this, we got it made.
Yeah.
Alright, I think, we've resolved the second one, I don't know, the, new business town resident for our property owner sit on BZA planning commission. Tom Stein came and visited our, meeting on Tuesday night, and, I didn't talk to him afterwards, but.
I did. He said he thought it was very interesting, what he had heard, discussions and everything.
Very
So-
interesting.
So I think he's pretty well, you know,
Yeah.
he checks in on everything.
Okay, and he's, so he's willing to
Yeah,
sit on one of the boards or
Yeah.
both, or however we wanna work that out, okay?
yeah, well,
Alright, excellent. We're always looking for people who wanna
Do what?
volunteer with our
Did.
boards and different groups, so,
Who's big?
big thank you to the people who are already doing that, this town council and the other councils, boards that we have. Alright, Mill Creek Schools and Student Council, I had a conversation with, not Mindy, Megan Pugh out at, Cascade High School. She's the teacher who, is the sponsor for the Student Council at the high school. And apparently the middle school as well, I guess they all group together out there, but I thought it would kind of be interesting to think about in the future, and I know Cascade Middle School and High School are not in the town of Clayton, but a lot of the students, and the students' families live here and go out to school there, but, if there could be some sort of a informal mentoring or other relationship kind of a thing with the student council, if student council members think that, hey, maybe, you know, this kind of civic, service would be good for me later on in life, just after I leave high school, do they wanna do something, along the lines of a town council as well? So I thought it'd be kind of fun to, you know, at least start a discussion with them on, you know, would your students be interested in, you know, participating in, a mentoring kind of a thing with the town council. They were very excited that Megan and her co-teacher, and so they invited me to come talk to the students at the next student council meeting, which isn't until April. They don't meet like every month. They meet just before they plan something like, which they'll have a prom that they'll be planning for, so they'll meet in April for that. And you know, I didn't know if anybody else thought that'd be kind of fun to get involved with mentoring some high school, you know, like some early, you know, political or potential political civic leaders, and then maybe they visit, you know, the town council meetings and get involved in how the, you know, just the process of, you know, our Robert's Rules of Order or any of those kinds of things, so. But just thought I'd bring that up and see what everybody thought about that kind of a relationship.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I do, I think it'd go well.
Alright, and, so if anybody's interested in going to the high school at the next student council meeting, I can email the date out to everybody, or if, we wanna invite them to come and participate in a town council meeting, we can do that as well. Alright, next thing on the agenda, transfer funds. Jenny,
One of them is to, transfer, well, it all is, at the end of the year, there was a shortcoming in the motor vehicle highway, so we were transferring from, it's all in motor vehicle highway, paving and resurfacing, $1,290.85. Operating supplies, $1430.76, and town maintenance, $3676.39 into sidewalks, cause it was money that we had taken out for, HWC. So that's just to get it to a zero balance. And that's
so
it.
we're putting money back in.
We're
motor
just
vehicle highway
transferring it from
funds.
one fund to down there to make that zero, cause
Okay.
it was negative
Gotcha,
from HWC.
okay.
And then I also have an encumbrance resolution when we're done with that.
For
I didn't get
the
on the-
community crossing matching grant
Yes.
for this year, okay,
Yes,
excellent,
The total amount is $63.98.
yes, thank you.
okay. Any questions on the transfer fund?
I make a motion, we transfer the amount of transfers for $6,398.
Okay, got a first motion? Got a second motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Now you're
And the
encumbrance.
encumbrance is, 2,200 in the motor vehicle highway restricted, and it's all for, grant fund match. $1,358.89. Oh no, that one is for Thomas's, laptop. We encumbered that money to cover the laptop, and that's in ARPA. And then 21,400 in the edit for grant fund match. So that's a total of $44,758.89.
All right. Any questions on that?
No, I carried the all plus all equals all.
questions or discussion on the encumbrance amount?
No.
Okay,
Make a motion, we accept the encumbrance amount.
thank you. Got a first motion?
I'll second.
Got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, money's encumbered.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, next item, Ader Ditch Project. Pete, give us an update on where we're at.
Okay. The original permit had expired, so I had a meeting with Bannon Engineering yesterday, and they give me their agreement that they want us to look over. And he was talking about the assumptions on the second page, down towards the bottom. He doesn't see any problems with that because we'd already had a permit once, so that shouldn't affect anything. And they got a superstar, I guess, on the permit, so we can hurry this thing along. His name's Mark Ornell. He's supposed to stay in contact with me. He said the earliest they could possibly get it's 2 months. That's the earliest. But they assured me they would keep pressuring to get it as soon as they can.
2 months to get the permits or 2 months to start?
2 months to get the permit.
2 months to get the permit.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back up a little bit. So
Okay.
we had, in 2019, we had a 41404 permit that IDEM issued for this project. Unfortunately, when we applied for the permit, we put a date on it. And the date said completed by, and
Yeah.
that date was put in there. So when we contacted IDEM again last month, they said, well, your permit had an end date and you
Yeah.
didn't do any work. So we're having to jump through these hoops to get this re-established or
Right.
reissued, the 41404 permit. Banning Engineering, kind of looked at this first, and then they saw the terms wetland on part of it. So that's why they reached out to this other gentleman.
Yes.
Who, he's the expert on wetland delineations and that kind of stuff. So he's going to work with them on getting the information back to IDEM, which again, they don't think that, I mean, they're encouraged that we're gonna get this permit.
Right.
It's just the matter of, again, there's a lot of red tape and hoops to jump through because it's the state of Indiana. But they said, you get this application filled back out, all these details in here, and then we'll reissue the permit. So that way we can, get started on the project. And it's just a matter of making sure that we're, following all the correct procedures, from start to finish this time, so. And then they gave us a quote on the cost of this in this, agreement. So getting the permit, they're charging us $8,000 for that, and then the engineering aspect of it is $11,700. So that's gonna be the total price, just to get started on the project.
And there was no work, pre-planning work, as far as what we needed done down there before, under the old permit, right? Never got started.
They still have the plans, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they have the plans that were worked up, by GRW. I don't know how much of that Banning's going to just use, cause, I mean.
Well,
it's a
what he
different
showed me
engineer.
yesterday pretty much looked like what I already
Oh,
had.
Alright, there was some discussion from, the gentleman from, Banning that to do a proper survey of this section of the ditch, they are gonna have to go in and do some clearing out. But they can't start that process until the permits are done.
Right.
So they're gonna get the permits, and then they'll set a time to come in and do at least a preliminary clearing of brush to do a survey of, you know, here's what we're working with, and then they'll draw up their formal engineering plans on, here's what the project's gonna entail.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions on that part of the project?
So I'm just guessing that since they already have a little bit of an idea of what they're gonna be getting into, that the second figure, the hourly estimated figure is probably gonna be pretty close to what they're gonna stick with.
Right, and they said they'd be available if any problems come up, all we'd have to do is call them.
Yeah. Okay.
And with previous conversations I've had with Mark, over at Bandit Engineering, they kind of overestimate a little bit on purpose. And so that you typically don't end up paying that amount, just cause that's kind of their philosophy is to kind of overestimate and then it comes back down,
No
so.
surprises. We need a motion.
Yes,
I make a motion that we accept the proposal from Banning for the Ader ditch project.
okay, I got a first motion,
I'll second.
second motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll get this signed and,
I'll send
back over to Bandit Engineering.
I'll send it off tonight, cause I told Mark yesterday, as soon as the meeting was over, if it passed, so they can get this thing going.
Which one of these do you want me to sign? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
All right, next item on the agenda is a backhoe purchase.
You guys, yeah, you've got your pictures in front of you?
Yeah,
Okay. The Kubota, it would be the middle, L47. Okay, for it started out originally 81,849. And when they discounted it out, the government and all the other stuff, the backhoe in 2 buckets, a 30-inch bucket and 18-inch bucket, it come to $66,000. The Coyote, he has one on the lot. It has 6 hours on it. He donated it to the town for hay rides during October. So he knocked $1,500 off for that. And it with 2 buckets, a 36 and an 18, it come to $52,469. This one has a cab with heat and air, where the Kubota has got a roof. If you're gonna do backhoe only, I'd say the Kubota. If you're gonna do year-round, I'd say the Coyote, because I can get the Coyote with 5 attachments. You get a 66-inch brush gravel, 84-inch finish mower, 6-foot grader box, 7-foot snow box, which is 5 attachments, and for the gravel, you have to have another attachment put on the front loader, which is called a third function valve. And you can use that for other attachments other than just that one. And all of it come to, what was it, 64,
yeah,
6417?
717, yeah,
Yeah,
which is still cheaper than the.
yeah, if you look at the Haltom there, what he did is he put a brand new snow box and then a used one. It was used twice on his lot this year during the snow.
Yeah.
He knocked $300 off if we wanted the used one. So that price was kind of deceiving when the computer just figured it all up
Yeah.
with both of them.
Yeah.
That's why I hand wrote it in down there.
64,
And I did call him up and verify that,
417.
yeah.
The Coyote, it says on the front here, 40 to 58, what it actually
It's a
horsepower?
58
It's a
horse,
58 horse,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Then we could get rid of the long tractor.
Right. And it's got a set of forks, which, oh yeah, that's another thing, 48-inch forks too for this one, because we need forks to lift that salt spreader out of the dump truck. But the forks that we have for the other tractor won't fit. These are all quick connects.
So, back up a little bit. So I asked Pete to price, something to replace the blue tractor that sits in our garage. Part of, the violation letter that we got last month, and talking to George and Mindy about some things, and our, current sanitary sewer issues that we need to fix. I said, what kinds of equipment might we need to start doing some work ourselves on fixing some things in town? And so I asked George to look at a couple of different pieces of equipment himself, a camera inspection and a little like roto rooter kind of a deal. And then, if we had to dig up some laterals or dig up some mains, could we do that some ourselves rather than, contracting it out to somebody else? Especially if it's, something that's a manageable, job within a few feet of the surface of the, town or something like that. But, when, just looking at some of the I&I issues, I know I had, a root problem in my lateral at my house last month. Had to get a roto rooter, but if I have roots in my lateral, I also have infiltrate. I have water getting into my lateral at my house. So how many other houses in town have that kind of an issue? I mean, this system's been in the ground since 1973, and how much have we been able to do some preventative maintenance kinds of things over the years? So that was kind of my first motivation, is just, do we need some more substantial equipment in town that we can start fixing some of these problems? But, so Pete went out and found these two quotes on my request to see if, are these things that could start addressing that. And I don't know, you and George had a discussion also.
A short
or-
one, a short one.
Any of this sound like something, George, that would help us with some of this sanitary sewer I&I stuff, or are we better off contracting this out to other companies, or?
Yeah. I'm not sure who would, probably need some more discussion. I wouldn't say no, not do it, but probably need some more discussion on how we would move forward with it, so.
One thing I'd like for you to, find out is, can we get financing for these things?
Yeah, you can. I believe, from what I read, you can get 0%, which is unusual nowadays. I didn't think you could do that anymore, up to 72 months.
Jenny, is that something that we would be allowed to do?
Yeah, you can take out a lease, a loan,
Yeah.
yeah. I just think it's something, if you're gonna do something like this, you need to think about it when you're doing your budget and put it in your budget. Don't just decide in February you're gonna buy one.
I
I don't-
wouldn't think that we could come up with that kind of money, that's why I say if we would. it would
I mean,
be
there's
financed.
money in the depreciation fund, but with the problems at the sewer plant, are you gonna need any of that money?
Yeah, that's where my thing goes. I guess I wanna have a separate meeting with everybody, just kind of the things that we need to fix and everything. It's like,
Right.
I just want to make sure we want to spend our money in the right direction.
Right.
And you'd
Not that we
sell
don't
the
need
blue,
this work, but
you'd sell the blue tractor.
Right, yeah. And we'd almost have to make room. Pardon?
Do you have any idea of how much it's worth?
I suppose I could ask Rob, he's the one that sold it to
I
us.
think you could take half of it out of the way.
Moran?
Yeah, they don't make that brand anymore.
No,
And take it
The
out of it.
tractor that we have over at the
Yeah.
garage, they don't make that one anymore?
Uh-uh.
no. Rob's the one that sold it to us,
Yeah.
sold it to the town.
Yeah,
Should be a
That's
record of that
better
somewhere.
price and more stuff with it.
Do you have think
Right.
you still have a record of what we paid for that long tractor we bought from Rob?
I can look.
Okay.
Let's see, I'll have to look.
Okay.
yeah, and it's, like, this is not,
I think.
something that has to be
Yeah.
an emergency purchase or anything like that. It's just, some things that, especially, I mean, I've been on the town council now since 2019, and we've received, I think 7, if I count right, violation letters from IDEM, and they mention I every single time.
Right.
So, to me, I'm like, okay, what kinds of things can we start working on to address this? And I know you've already, started some procedures with the sensors that we wanna get installed to find out where, when we, tracked it. And I showed you that map earlier where, when Mason Private Locates camera inspected our sewer system, I mean, they found lots of areas, especially, up on the north end of town, where tons of roots are infiltrated into the, sewer mains. We have some, things that, so what kinds of things can we fix versus what do we have to continue to go back to, contracting out to somebody else, that kind of stuff,
yeah, certainly if it's on our property, I guess my concern would be if it's a lateral, which we probably need to talk about I'm gonna bring it up when I can talk about the systems I've looked at. But we probably need to really look at the collection system separately from the sewer plant, because I've spent all my efforts and my time's always been within the sewer plant, not the collection site. So this collection site is something, not new, I knew of it, but I've not personally dealt with it. So I kinda wanna talk to the town in general about taking that over, actually managing that and making it happen. But there's things we can do to identify where it's coming from, smoke testing, things like that, possibly taking a camera system. But then when we identify, which I'm sure there's tons of them, I've seen it in other locations and stuff, to where a lot of this ionized probably could more than less be coming from homeowners. So the trunk line is our property, but then it leaves our property and goes to the homeowner. It's in what they call lateral that runs to the house. So then, does that earnest fall back onto us to fix, or really does it earnest fall back onto the homeowner? And I think I've talked to IDEM about that, is to what legal rights do we have as a collection system? You have the right to go back to the homeowner and force that to get fixed. So we have some legal push there, but we first need to identify where it's at. I'm hoping that there's not a lot of it that's gonna be on our side of it, but, we found the C1D1, I'm sure there's lots of others like that. We've got the manholes that we know there's some leaks around those as well, so. We're talking some serious money here, even for the camera systems and, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely gets pricey as you start to look at fixes. And I know when GRW and Baker Tilly gave us that number for our sewer rate hike, they told us they built in a cushion of $50,000 a year above and beyond your normal operating cost and paying back the SRF. So, you know, for the purpose of applying that to fixing things every year
Yeah.
as we move forward. But that's not a lot of money when it comes to the size of the system that we're dealing with. So
Yeah.
I don't throw that out there just to say, oh, look, we have all this money, but that we have a balance, I guess, of, you know, we have a large system with lots of problems. We have some money to work with. One of the, I think probably my first year, I heard this term from you multiple times. We kick the can down the road. And, you know, I just don't wanna see us get back into that habit of kicking the can down the road and saying, well, we can't fix it yet, we can't fix it yet, and then we end up, you know, needing another $2.2 million loan in 5 years instead of something that looked more manageable, so. And I don't know that we can fix some of these things ourselves, but I guess I was just asking the question.
Yeah, I think, like I say, the biggest part is, like you and I talked, that map, I've tried to get with, I got with GRW, they've sent me all the files and all the work that they've done, so I'm trying to gather that information and pull it in and help to manage this, because it's just been, like you said, it's just been overlooked and done. I personally have not ever managed it. You know, it's always been, previous town managers and or, previous people before you guys were on the board that always dealt with it, so for me, I'm willing to take it on and look at it, but I wanna address that as, how's that happen? I'm happy to take it upon myself and Mindy and I and manage this thing and start doing it, not just kick it down the road. I'm happy with the board willing to spend the money, cause it's always been kind of the other side of the fence for a long time. Don't spend it, so I'm happy to see that we're able to spend some money and move forward.
No, we did so much work to get everything, we're doing so much work to get everything
Absolutely, yeah. We've got,
in line, and so why wouldn't we just continue with that and try to get the other components of the system in line too?
we got two, I don't know if you want me to keep talking, or wait till it's my turn. So there's two sides of the system. We got the operation of the facility within itself, which I've got several things that we need to really address and move forward with that aspect of it. You know, we talked before about the electrical that needs to get fixed. You know, I think that was around an $80,000 tag price for that. The blowers need to be really looked at, so I wanna look at that original plan that GRW did for the project down there and not take the whole project, because we've already decided we're not, but I wanna take some bits and pieces out of it and look at how we upgrade the plant on our own dime and take care of it ourselves, especially with the school coming online. We'll have some new revenue stream coming in there that will help out with that. And then look at the collection system separately and just have two things running side by side so that we can address all these problems.
Yeah,
That
and,
would be my
you know,
recommendation.
the customers are paying into money
Absolutely,
and expecting a service.
yeah.
And so from my perspective, you know, we have both sides of it. We have a responsibility to the customers to give them what they're paying for.
Sure.
And so if, you know, for some reason, you know, a sewer line collapses, you know, then is it because we didn't maintain it well or some other issue? But, you know, and if, I wish I could go back to 4 years ago and know to ask different questions, because there are certainly a lot of things that, you know, that with that map I was showing you, wow, why,
Yeah, and I was never shown, can't believe that existed. It's like,
yeah.
wow.
So we have a lot of issues to address, and, but, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint, so we have to just take each,
Just a bit, I mean, it's
Right.
a big elephant, but a piece at a time.
yes.
Come up with a master plan, here's what we're going to attack the next,
Yeah.
you know, several years.
And you've got the asset management
Yeah,
plan
you sent that.
to, you know, prioritize different things and address that. And, you know, if there's pieces of equipment to buy along the way, then that would make it easier for us to do our job. And let's work on that, but,
For sure. So, on things like this, I mean, if we decide, okay, we can use it for sewer, we just take the money out of the sewer fund, is that what we're thinking? Where that would come from, or?
I mean, that'd be up to you, I mean,
Okay.
really, when it comes to it, that's your money to operate the sanitary sewer and the wastewater treatment plant. So we'd be asking you for permission.
Okay.
Can we spend your money to buy something? And, I mean, at least one of these, we would have, you know, more than one bird to get with one stone. I mean, the, kind of be, I don't know, almost a maintenance person's dream, because it's got,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, stuff we can, you know, we can mow grass with it, we can,
Absolutely.
you know, dig trenches with it, we can, you know,
Fence
work
rows.
with doing fences, and we can work with, pushing snow, we can do all kinds of things, so, you know, it would, but,
Can you
The-
put banners up with it?
there you go.
It might, oh yeah, it probably would reach high enough
Reach
front
that-
bucket.
Put that bucket up there, so as long as you have a
I got you.
OSHA-approved,
Yeah.
harness. Go up there without an OSHA-approved
Yeah.
harness, but, so anyway, those are just some thoughts
So let me
that
give
we
you-
were looking at.
Right,
My motivation for asking Pete to price this
yeah,
was, again, you know,
absolutely.
what kinds of, issues can we start fixing on our own? And not that we're gonna be able to fix everything, I mean, certainly, this isn't gonna dig down to 14 feet, so that would still
Yeah,
have to be,
surface things, issues like
Right.
that, yeah, absolutely.
and if we had, that camera
Mhm.
issue that you're gonna talk about, and the, you know, do we have is there a roto-rooter machine that'll go in and deal with roots? And
Yeah, and that helps out, you know, especially from the customer side. It doesn't solve the leak, but at least it helps the customer to be able to get the stuff out of their home and on.
Right.
So let me circle back with Pete and have time to dialogue what you've actually found here.
Okay.
Piece it together with what I got, and we'll come up with a plan and present maybe at the next meeting, if that's okay.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions for Pete on the backhoe tractor issue? Alright, we talked, last month about body cameras, police body cameras, so Thomas, did you have any other feedback? You said you were gonna look into some different options.
I've got two actually. So they're kind of like 4-year term contract, and one's a 3-year term contract. Axion is kind of probably the biggest one that everybody's using in the state of Indiana, and it's $28,157 for a 4-year. You can actually have it. And then the other one is through Motorola. And that's for only 4. So
Four
for
body
4
cameras?
body cameras,
For
correct?
4 years,
For 4 years. And then
28,000.
yep, and then Motorola's is 16,560 for 4 for a 3-year contract.
Is there any
So this
difference?
is like
difference?
close to 10,000 the first year, and then 4,600.
Yeah, you could, cause you don't have to pay it all at once. They actually allow you to, tier it.
Is this Axion system different than the Motorola, or is it, I mean, is one capture better? Or?
Yeah, I would say they're pretty close to the same. Yeah. I would like, these are kind of the 2 big ones throughout the country. I'd like to still reach out and see if there's some other ones that are a little more economical for the smaller towns. Because the thing is, we just don't have the storage. So the storage is what gets expensive with these things, storing it in cloud. We just don't have the, the manpower that we're just filling that stuff up. So they charge an astronomical amount.
So if we had our own physical server in the building that stuff went into, it would be less expensive.
Yes.
What are those kinds of storage the servers
I
that
don't-
store that kind of stuff, what do those usually run?
Well, it depends, we'd have to have a system that's stored the initial data,
Mhm.
and then we would wanna have a backup that archives it, and then we would wanna have a long-term backup that archives the archive. Because you want some redundancy there, because if you don't do that, and then we're in a lawsuit or
Correct.
something, or we've gotta
Correct.
pull information up from something that happened 2 years ago, we've gotta pull it up, cause now there's a suit somewhere that we've gotta come
Right.
up with.
Or just request any
Yeah,
of the
then we gotta go
public-
back and find that,
Right.
and we need to
Sure.
make sure that it's not missing,
Right.
so.
It doesn't even have to be a lawsuit, it can just be a citizen asking, I want this public information,
Right.
and you have to provide it, so.
So, I mean, I have to,
You kind of earmark two, so you kind of like, you have just general storage, which would be roughly 90 days, and then you could click a button where you would save it for, till your court case is over with, or your potential court case. And that's where it gets really expensive.
how much, like, how much data does a camera cost, like a 2-minute stop, and you had the camera on? Do you have any idea how much data that
I don't,
accumulates?
I'd have to check on that. I don't think it's all that much
Okay.
for 2 minutes.
I can ask around too,
Yeah.
all right. So that's what it would add up, all that would just add up.
Yeah, it does add up. So
Yeah.
every interaction, so your SOP would be at every interaction you would have that going, even if it's a simple jump start. So kind of like with my other department, you have it running all the time when you're on a run.
Uh-huh.
You know, when it's a dispatched run or,
Do you know what IU has?
yeah, we have Axion.
Okay.
Is what we use. Like, we've had it for several years, but my division just got it and we've had it for 2 months
Can you
now.
get some numbers from them on what an average
Yeah,
per minute data storage would run?
Yeah.
And then we can do some calculations
Okay.
on how much data storage we would have to have on premise rather than use the Axion service or something.
right. And I bet with that style, it's the initial cost. Long-term, it's probably cheaper, but there might be an initial cost up front.
Yeah, okay.
But I'd like to check out a couple, these are the two most popular that everybody's using throughout the country.
And then you would just keep the cameras here, and when somebody came on duty, they
Yeah,
would come and get?
so there would be some, checkout ones, so that technically even like some of our special events, everybody wouldn't even necessarily be outfitted with one, cause this is just for 4. So you can double, if you went to 8, just double that price for 8 of them, and that's currently what we have, 8 officers. There might be, and I think Doug brought it up, there'll be a time down the road that we'll be required to have these. That's common. I'm gonna guess maybe 3 to 5 years is that they'll mandate that every police officer in the state of Indiana will have a body cam on.
Do you think the state would mandate that it would have to be with provider A or
No.
provider B or something like that?
No, I don't think they will. Yep. Yep. And they're very beneficial. I'm pro body cam just because I feel like it protects the officer more than it does. Officers are traditionally doing the right thing throughout the country.
And the cameras themselves are not the biggest,
They're not. A lot of times they'll give them to you free.
okay.
A lot of times they'll even give them to you for
I
free.
noticed on the municipal network, several of the bigger cities are buying new ones, and I didn't know, do they like sell their old ones?
Yeah,
for
so
less
traditionally
expensive?
what everybody's doing, so I've reached out to all of the local, Brownsburg, Plainfield, Avon, and they're giving them back to get a discount back
Oh,
off.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to do that with like tasers and other
Yeah.
equipment as well, and so they're giving them back and getting a discount off of what they're purchasing right now. And for most, even like most of the equipment, tasers, radios, they're going to these contracts, and then again, then that in 4 years, you're hitting another 28,000 plus to do another 3 to 4 year contract. So it's kind of a reoccurring fee. I think it's pretty expensive. I know with IU, we're roughly 100 officers and we're like at $2 million for ours. So it's pretty costly.
I'll get some information.
Okay.
Come up with some on-premise storage
Okay.
costs of what we would need.
And then I'll look to see if there's some lower tiered type of stuff, like you said, because again, we just don't have the data that we need cloud storage. We could really store it. We
Just like the security cameras. you know,
right,
we-
correct, exactly.
Access it as needed.
Right.
It's at our
Right.
fingertips.
Yep. Yep.
Don't worry. Anybody have any questions for Chief Remender on that? Okay, the next thing was, upcoming eclipse. Did the emergency, management agency lady talk to you?
So I called her. I haven't talked to her. So she's actually a former. We work together, so I actually know her very well.
She mentioned that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
So,
she told us some stories about you. No, just kidding.
Hopefully, a good one.
She just said she worked with you.
Okay. Yeah. I've actually been to probably about 10 meetings already in regards to this clips, and you got. So your emergency management people are going to give you the doom and gloom, I guess, to it.
Oh, yeah. That was, she made it sound like there were gonna be riots in the street.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be quite that bad, but I mean, we're in, so one of the meetings I was in Marion County is expecting 1.2 million visitors. About 400,000 of them are going to be at the racetrack. So you roughly have another 800,000. Where are they going? And I think what we'll experience out here is kind of that, when you research when this happened before, this one's a bigger deal than the previous one that we had, that you got traffic just gets gridlocked. And so when the traffic gets gridlocked, medical can't get anywhere, and you had some overdoses at some of the towns that these folks were at. Kind of when you look here is, where would they go if they came to Clayton? Probably the Christian church would probably be the number one spot. I don't know if there's too many, your bigger parks that don't have trees.
Mill Creek East.
Mill Creek East, yeah.
One of her, like, warnings to us, I guess, is she said, people just stop in the middle of the street and get
Yeah.
out and look at the eclipse and then, now you have this, traffic backup issue,
right.
just because people are just stopping right in the middle of the right of way instead of finding a parking lot or anything like that. They just stop and get out because what's happening now. And then she did warn about, somebody calls 911 because they're having chest pain, but suddenly the ambulance can't make it through town because there's a line of cars just stopped
Traffic
gawking
grid,
at,
yeah.
the sun went behind the moon, kind of thing. So,
Right.
or whatever. I
Right.
mean, those kinds of things. So I just didn't know, is there, plans for or contingencies just in case some of what she said, the doom and gloom things happen? Do we have some kind of a backup?
Yeah, so
You know.
so what my plan is to try to get everybody to come out that day. So everybody that's working that day, to try to get them to come out, because I think that you do have this realm that it could go really smooth, or you could get log jammed and it could take you, a 10 to 12 hour period of time to get cars out of here or more. What you see some of that stuff where they saw the people kind of pulling off or kind of blocking the roads is on your major interstates. I don't know as if we'll have that on the more rural roads, but like 40 could experience some of that where people are traveling and then they stop. 465, 70, I think that kind of thing. I think when you get into smaller towns, people will actually pull off somewhere. So that's where you'll get them in parking lots and your churches, schools, that kind of thing. So my plan is, I actually will be, I can't, I have a blackout day on my other job on that day, but I will come here as soon as I get out of there, so,
It's a Monday.
And it's the 8th
it's
of
the
April.
8th.
It's a
It's the
Monday.
8th of April, it's a Monday.
Monday.
And a lot of schools are not having school that
Yeah, I
day.
was told Mill Creek East they've canceled classes.
Yeah, so we've canceled, I use canceled classes that day as well.
It was the 4th.
Um,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah. Yeah, it's, rough, yeah, it's not that long. No.
3 minutes and
Yeah.
30 seconds, or 3 minutes and
Yeah.
I was thinking 3 to 4
15
minutes.
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And, you know, and then there's the lead up. It doesn't
Yeah.
like happen
It's supposed to be really
immediately. So there's a lead up to the darkness, and
like
then
in Bloomington.
it's dark.
Dark, right.
3 minutes later, it'll start getting light again.
right.
Just, you know. And I don't know how the majority of people are gonna react to it. I mean, there's that
There was
level of
some
unknown
girl-
of
some
some
white
people
girls
will
down
be
the
just
street
like,
and-
oh, what's a big deal? It's just a, you know, and other people will be like, oh, you know, this is the second coming, or this is
No,
the,
Right.
this
you know,
one,
whatever.
are you not supposed to
We
look
had
at this
some
one?
And it's supposed to be better than the last
No, you can
one,
get
and then
some-
it's not gonna happen for like
members
a long
show up,
time,
Try to
like,
look at
the
it.
purple shrouds and stuff,
Yeah.
and they're thinking there's a spaceship coming to get
But
them.
he still looked at it academically.
right.
She warned cellular communication could,
Could not work.
because there's so many people trying to
Correct.
upload
Correct,
a video or all at once, or,
correct. And we are in the line of the best,
Yeah,
Viewing,
this side
right.
and the best, yeah.
yes. So we're going down through it, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, Lambert Park could fill up with,
correct.
you know, a bunch of people wanting to catch that
Yep.
prime view.
We could
Right.
set up and sell tickets
And you,
Yeah.
and get a
To
new
pay for
tractor.
the tractor.
and it could start as early as Saturday.
Yeah,
So since it's on a Monday, a lot of these people will start traveling, and then there's like these social media sites all over the place, and so if some eclipse guru goes, "This is the place to be," then it will expound where people will then start coming. So I will meet regularly now with the local emergency management and law enforcement. They got monthly meetings and kind of giving us an update. It's kind of that unknown, really. It could be really smooth, or it could be this really difficult, jammed up, to where maybe even schools aren't even operating on Tuesday because it's still log jammed with traffic. And that's kind of what happened at like in Colorado, they had a lot of that occurred. So that's where they're getting some of their information.
I wonder if they'll line up at the food pantry then, it's Tuesday. That day.
No, that would actually, food could be water, I mean,
Monday being food.
yeah.
alright, well, good,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad, you know, you guys are looped in and
Yep.
working on ideas and contingencies and stuff, and, you know, making sure that
Yep.
emergency services can still function, and, you know, people are,
Right, and that's kind of where, the fire department, they'll probably go to like their gators and stuff like that. It's a lot, like kind of when you have concerts and stuff, it's easier to get around on those things than it is to get vehicles kind of around if it
Right.
gets that crowded through here.
and if cell phones go out, there's backup communication
Right,
options and
Yep.
that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
so Hendricks County is way advanced on the radio system, so we're encrypted, and so our radio system is probably the best in the area. So that shouldn't go down.
Okay. Alright,
Then you got your ham radios too.
have any questions on the eclipse?
And I'll keep you guys posted kind of on what they're predicting for us.
Yeah.
So if it does seem like it's gonna be a major deal, making Because
there's a bunch.
I'd be careful on traveling that day. I wouldn't set any appointments that day, like in Indy especially, medical appointments or anything like that, because again, they're expecting, last I heard it was 1.2 and 400,000 is going to the racetrack. And so that's west side, right? So
Well,
that's gonna be a lot.
The drag race strip is also hosting an
Correct,
event
it is.
also,
Yeah,
right?
Claremont will be, yes.
Right,
That's,
so
a-
we've
yes.
got not only
Yes, and you're
Indianapolis
probably,
Raceway Park, but,
probably 100,000 plus out there.
yeah, so there's
Yes,
gonna be,
yep.
and,
Fairgrounds will be heavy in Danville.
right.
I just might have to close down the flower shop for that.
Yeah, if you do a little search, it's kind of interesting. You'll see where they, really the towns, there was a lot of towns, smaller towns especially, that really struggled for like a 48-hour period.
Can't make flower deliveries.
All right, well, while you're up here, you might as well, anything else that you?
That was actually,
wanna talk
those were
about,
both
or-
the
Yeah.
things on my agenda.
Okay, anybody's got any questions for Chief or Member? Okay, thank you, sir. Now you
Thanks,
can sit down.
thanks.
I can mark
Pete,
it.
did you have anything else besides what you've already talked about?
Well, Duke Energy's gonna start putting LEDs sometime in March.
Okay,
And John and I, supposedly after dark, we're supposed to see where we need to add some.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him stay on his side of the car.
I would too.
Did you tell them to replace those bad purple lights?
Yeah, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right, and then, George, you
Yeah.
got more stuff that
More
we haven't
stuff.
talked about?
Well. I know. So, along with what we're talking about a while ago, so some of the stuff I'm starting to look at, went to a conference show here a couple of weeks ago. So I'm starting to price some equipment that we can use to start helping us identify the I&I problems. So I don't have any real prices yet, but, you know, like I was saying, we're probably in the $10,000 to $20,000 range for a few pieces of equipment. So I'll get some prices and then come back and let you guys know kind of what we're looking at and create a little more substantial master plan. The second thing was the trail that's coming through, the Vidalia Trail that's coming through. Got a packet of information because they were wanting to know about our utilities. I talked to the person that's in charge of doing this, let them know that we have a new trunk line coming from the school. Their right of way actually goes over the top of that. So I'm gonna talk to Banning Engineering, get their involvement to help see if that's gonna cause any issues or not. And then we'll go back and communicate with them, but they're starting to push forward with this trail. Sounds like they're gonna be doing it fairly soon, so just doing all the initial legwork to make sure there's no issues.
Will the trail be over the
A
line
portion of it,
for
yeah.
a long way, or?
Not a long way, maybe, if I were to guess, maybe a quarter of a mile or so worth of it when it gets real close to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, just to make everybody aware of what's kind of going on there. Other than that,
That's it.
that's it. Short and
We
sweet.
love you, George.
All right.
Okay. All right, there were two documents that were set over here in front of me when I came in. One of them is, just a notification that a, warehouse up in Brownsburg has been given a, clean air permit by IDEM.
That's nice.
Permit number 47224, just in case anybody wants. The other one is, has to do with the opioid
Opioid settlement.
class action lawsuit issues. And it's quite extensive information. The company, the pharmaceutical company, that has a $600 million loss on this opioid class action lawsuit, is filing for Chapter 11. So they're saying, we're getting out of the business. And I'm not too sure in this that we have an option to accept the plan for their Chapter 11, reject the plan, or abstain from voting. I don't know what amount of money we would normally get from this anyway, what?
Well,
was
if
the-
you remember correctly from the opioid thing, we got $20.12 from the state, and then the county, we actually got $78, and we had to send $58 back to the county. So, I'm saying it's probably big bucks.
Yeah.
Save the paper, get it print on the backside.
This says that we have to vote by February 22nd. So 2 weeks from today, we have to give them an answer. If we don't do anything, they consider that that we accept the Chapter 11 plan, according to this.
Why say we just do that? We do nothing.
Yeah.
There's
I agree with Leanne.
Would you like to put that in a motion?
Well, if we send in the paper ballot, we have to pay them $1. But we can do this online on the online portal for free. But, yeah, this comes from the United States Bankruptcy Court, Southern District of New York. So anyway, I thought I'd pass that along to all of you. Anybody that would love to peruse through this and read it, more than welcome to. I don't know. Graham, do you want to look at this? Not really.
He looks
Do you have
at
a,
that stuff.
do you have a new paralegal that you want to?
But needs
subject?
some,
You don't like?
Make sure you get our $20.
yeah.
I'd be curious what other towns are doing. I mean, maybe you could just ask if you're really interested.
Maybe we can ask on the little municipal
Should
thing.
we give you a preliminary, what you should do, but if you find out some different information, that way you can take care of it before the 20th,
22nd.
22nd?
Sure.
So
Let me have it.
I say you agree to it,
Accept the plan.
accept the
The
plan.
Chapter 11.
Mhm.
Okay.
Unless before the 22nd, you come up with some other information about it that
We'll
we
get
don't.
half of the 600.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, if we're gonna get
That
300
could be a new
million,
tractor.
accept it.
We could all have a new tractor.
That's
if we
right.
get half of the 600 million. All right, we will,
Okay.
I'll ask some of the other town folks if they got one of these and what they're doing with it, and then see what.
Why are they inquiring to the towns?
Probably because we have a say, probably because we're creditors.
We're listed as a
Bankruptcy.
debtor, or we're listed as something on there, so you are receiving this. Because we're named as part of this opioid
Yeah.
class action suit from the local government. Okay, moving on. We got a thank you letter, or thank you card from the Mill Creek Christian Support Center, volunteers and board members, for our assistance in them applying for a T-Mobile grant for a refrigerated food truck. John wrote the letter and signed my name to it, so. But they said thank you for writing the letter. They did not get the grant that they were hoping for. They were hoping for it, but
I should have put your name instead of mine in.
I just ran out of ink.
anyway.
I got this one. This one works.
So Jenny, you got anything else for the good
I
of the
have
order?
a contract from Waterboy
Oh, yeah.
that needs to be
For the
signed,
pond.
but I already printed your name.
Okay.
And then I also
Yeah.
just have the thing from Menards, I need to put the people on here that can purchase, I guess just the same ones, Pete, John,
Yeah. Yeah, but
Thomas, George? Okay. That's
Anything
all I
else?
have. No,
That's it?
that's all I have.
Okay, alright. Anybody else got anything, Dave? John?
I assume since we're changing the lights, LEDs, we're still gonna, if one's burnt out before now and then, we'll get it replaced, correct?
You mean with the old style before we put the new?
No, I meant if the lights burn out now, to have to go ahead and,
Had to fix it before.
Fix it, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose they would.
yeah.
I mean, every time I submit a light out, they get it fixed within 4 days, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm surprised Cynthia didn't say something to you. She said, told me that light out in front of the road there, in front of their garage is out, so I didn't get the number.
Right in front of her garage over on
Yeah,
Reagan?
yeah,
Okay, I can submit it as, I mean,
Okay.
I just do it on their online thing.
okay.
Leanne, anything?
Other
Alright, Don? Okay, and Grant? Alright, anybody else got anything? Alrighty, gotta need a consensus to adjourn.
Do it, yeah.
Okay, meeting adjourned.